Hello and welcome to the stories of Northern life from the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. Thank you so much for being here. With every episode, you are learning a little more about Sault Ste. Marie history and gaining a greater appreciation of our Northern community, the moments, the people, and the places. The Sault Museum is here to preserve your history, but also to share it in as many engaging and entertaining ways as we can. Your support and engagement with our content keeps the cycle going and allowing us to expand and grow, offering more back to you, our community. So thank you. Season 2 of the Stories of Northern Life podcast is coming soon. Until then, we are resharing a few episodes over the past 2 years. That's 100 episodes that we love and think that you will too. Hello and welcome to the Stories of Northern Life from the Sault Ste. Marie Museum. Today I get to share with you an interview with a kind and intelligent person named Bryant McBride. He has been on my list for a few years now to reach out to, and I'm so happy he agreed to chat with me, and so you can hear his words for yourself. But before I get into it, I want to share a little more background on who he is and what he has achieved. So, Bryant McBride was born on May 30th, 1965 in Chicago, Illinois. His mom remarried and they moved here to Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada when he was just 5. As most of us know, Sault Ste. Marie is considered a hotbed of hockey activity, having produced upwards of 40 players that went on to the NHL, including the legendary Ron Francis. Ron was a regular opponent of McBride's when the two were growing up, and they still are very close friends. McBride graduated from Bowdoin High School in 1983. His talent on the ice attracted the interest of West Point Military Academy. Since his mother was an American citizen, the door was open to West Point. But before he can go, they wanted him to attend an American school first. So he went to Williston Northampton, a prep school in East Hampton, Massachusetts. In 1984, Bryant McBride became the first African-American class president at the famed United States Military Academy, all while playing hockey and being in the Glee Club. He only stayed at the school for 1.5 years. He said West Point was one of the greatest schools in the world at what it does, and that is train Army officers. But becoming an officer was just not what he wanted to do. So he went on to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut in 1986. He chose the school for academic reasons, but he was also offered a scholarship to play hockey for the Division II school. With the team, they won the Eastern Collegiate Athletic Conference Championship and was named Division II All-American in 1988. And again, he was the first black class president in his senior year. After his hard work in his undergrad years, he was accepted to Harvard University and completed a master's degree in public administration in 1990. After a few great jobs and meeting his wife, he was looking for his next move. McBride had a friend who worked as an executive with the Detroit Red Wings. He faxed Gary Bettman, the commissioner of the NHL at the time, Bryant's resume. Soon, Bryant went to New York to meet the commissioner. After the meeting, Bryant was named the Director of New Business Development with the charge to grow the game and by giving more people a chance to play hockey. He accomplished many great things throughout his tenure at the NHL, not to mention becoming the highest-ranking African-American executive in the history of the National Hockey League. He divided his role into 4 categories and duties. 1, to build more community rinks, ice rinks for people of all ages to have access to at all hours of the day and night. McBride spearheaded the construction of new rinks in North Hampshire, Connecticut, Indiana, and Michigan. Second goal was to attract more minority kids to the sport. He never had a black teammate. From his experience being called names on the ice as a kid, he wanted to eliminate the intimidation of playing hockey for upcoming minority kids. Getting more players of color to the NHL and letting that become the new standard was another goal. McBride was in charge of the NHL Assist program. Assist standing for assists shooters and skaters in succeeding together. The plan gives $100,000 a year to needy hockey players in Hungary, Romania, as well as handicap programs and girls' teams in the United States. He served as the league's representative in monitoring the European Hockey League, which made strides in providing an avenue for the NHL expansion into Europe. When he began his tenure at the NHL, there were only 6 hockey organizations for inner-city kids across the United States and Canada. Today, with the help of the NHL and USA Hockey, McBride has created a diversity task force made up of 26 inner-city organizations across North America. He even recruited Willie O'Ree, the first black player in the NHL, to serve as a role model to young African American kids who might have an interest in playing hockey. Bryant is also the producer of Willie, a sports documentary film on pioneering hockey player Willie O'Ree, who played in the National Hockey League for Boston Bruins in the 1957-58 season, as well as the 1960-1961 season. The film stars Willie O'Ree himself, of course, Gary Bettman, and our Sir James Dunn alumni Wayne Gretzky. Leadership has been in his repertoire of skills for a long while before building startups and taking on important leadership roles. Since 2000, he has built 7 startups, all at the intersection of sports and technology. One of his startups is a leading user-generated content engagement platform for broadcasters, media companies, and brands called Burst. Companies like MTV, Fox News, TSN, Radio Disney, The Weather Channel, and CNBC, to name a few, use the platform. This man is unstoppable, so please stick around and listen to our conversation this past Tuesday, February 21st. Hello. I can't hear you. I'm not sure if that's on my...
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Okay, great. And just so I have it right, is your name Mari?
Mari, yes.
And how's it spelled? It's spelled a little bit different. How's it spelled again?
Mairi.
My daughter's name is Mari. Mari.
Really? No way.
Marielsa is her full name. Yeah, yours has one extra I
Yes.
compared to my daughter's. Yes.
The Scottish way, Mairi.
That's the Scottish way, my wife is saying.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Okay, awesome. Well, great to meet you.
You too. I'm so happy to have you here today. So as you know, I came across your story on Facebook a few years ago, and we made a little post as well on your achievements, because you are very well accomplished, and a lot of where your passions lies is surrounding a topic the Sioux is very passionate about, hockey. Unfortunately, I'm not super passionate about hockey, but I am interested in people's stories, especially people that have achieved great things coming from little isolated Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. So I'd like to shed a light on you and your story because it deserves to be shared as an example of what we can all achieve and what trailblazing can be done coming from Sault Ste. Marie. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat.
Happy to do it. Flattered to be asked.
Yeah. So I'd love to dive into your beginnings here in the Sioux and get a better understanding of how you propelled to be where you are today. So let's start right at the beginning. Can you paint me a picture of your early life here in Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah. I moved to the Sioux when I was 5. I was born in Chicago. Was moved. My mom married my dad, who technically is my stepdad, but he's my dad. I've only known him, and he actually he's almost 90 now, and he visited us last week for my daughter's birthday. So he has raised me and us, and been an incredible influence on my life. Gave me incredible opportunities, frankly. And he's from the Sioux, so when my mom and he met in Chicago, when I was really young, when I was 4 or 5 years old, they decided to marry and raise us in Sault Ste. Marie. And I had no idea where I was going, what was happening, but it turned out to be one of the most incredible strokes of luck. It literally changed my life. It defined my trajectory coming from Sault Ste. Marie. And I tell everyone proudly to this day that I'm from the Sioux. It was just such an incredible place to grow up. I love sports, as you know. I got the opportunity to just play, play sports every season. I saw some of your questions beforehand.
Mhm.
Probably some of the most signature moments um, in my childhood were playing on school rinks. Where they had to maintain a rink behind every school, every grade school in the Sioux. And so yeah, so I remember one quick vignette. Um, Getting to school at 6:37 in the morning, playing until 8:45 when you had to, go into the school, taking our skates off in the school, going all day, playing at lunch, getting back on the ice at 3:05, playing until 6,
Wow.
skating home on the roads.
Yeah.
Literally, I don't think you can still do it because of climate change, but literally skating home on the roads and then going into my house in my skates, walking around in the house in skates with newspaper and plastic down, so I wouldn't damage the floors. Eating my dinner as fast as I could, then going back out to play for another 2 or 3 hours. That was every day. It's kind of like the sweater, right? With the famous book. But that was literally what I did, and what we all did, and it's the reason that there are so many NHL players and coaches from the Sioux. That's
Yeah.
literally the reason. And I was in the guts of that system and of that movement, and played with so many NHL players who I still stay in touch with. Ronnie Francis is a dear friend. Um, so still, I mean, you tell people in hockey circles that I'm from Sault Ste. Marie, and it means you're legitimate.
Yes, yes.
So
That's
long answer. Sorry, but
no,
yeah,
that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Where did you go to elementary school? Whereabouts were you living at the time?
yeah. I went to Keewaydin Public
Okay.
School, and I went to Bowading, what was Bowading, and now is Lake Superior, I think, right?
Yes, that's where I
Um,
went.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we went to the same school, and different building, but same. We were on the same ground, um, and yeah. So I lived up near Sioux Buildings and Works on Sackville Road,
Mm,
right there. I lived right
yeah.
across the street on Sackville Road. Then I moved to LaSalle Court around the corner, not far away, and yeah, and spent a ton of time. I like, this is a good example. I went to I like to tell stories, as you can tell. It's a better way to do
I
things.
love to hear stories. So
Well, it's just a better, people remember it better, hopefully. So like I would start on LaSalle Court, stretching, getting, working out, and then I'd run to Fort Creek right
Mhm.
before a lot of the housing was built. It was still very much, it's still a conservation area, of
Yes.
course, right? So I would run to the hill, Fort Creek Hill, right near the dam. You know where that is. And I
Yep.
literally would run that hill 15, 20, 30 times a day, like just insane. And then took it from there to Searchmont and would run that. And this is all in preparation to go to West Point.
Right.
So when I got to West Point, and it's very, very hard. It's the hazing, and it's incredibly strenuous, and it's just incredibly difficult, very challenging mentally. We got to the bottom. They do different things to really test us physically. And so one day they pulled up in front of a ski hill, all of us, 1,500 of us. And I was like, awesome. Because of Fort Creek and Searchmont. So I came third out of 1,500 on that ski hill run, and I was a hockey player. They were like, "Who are you? Like, what you're not a cross country runner." So yeah, it worked out really well. So anyway, that's I think indicative of the Sioux. It just prepared me for so much.
Yeah.
The academics were really good. I ended up going to Harvard. You have to have some good teachers for that to happen. And
Definitely.
I had amazing teachers in grade school at Bowading, incredible teachers, frankly, and who really took an interest, who really cared, got me to a place where I could go to a school in the States, and I didn't miss a beat. I did well at all of them.
That's incredible to hear. So, putting yourself in the shoes of your high school self, what were you thinking in terms of your your future? What did you imagine?
Yeah. No, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and I don't want it to sound too crazy, but I wanted to be relevant in the sports world. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to go to the Super Bowl if I wanted to, or go to Wimbledon, or and have business to attend to, and have important things that I was working on, right? And luckily that's what I've been able to do. So I knew that when I was 12 years old. Told
That's
my mom that. She was like, What do you mean?" Like, sports marketing wasn't a discipline. It didn't exist,
Mhm.
right? But I thought that if I could work in sports, I'd always be happy. And
Yes.
that's largely what I've done.
Yeah, that's incredible that you just knew. I feel like that's what we all need. That sets you in the right direction to go places.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, a good example is this is very early on. I was in my teens, and I was fascinated by the history of sports,
Mhm.
right? And I remember reading about the Homestead Grays and the Kansas City Monarchs. They were
Okay.
Negro League baseball teams, and I was like, whoa, they had to play in different leagues. They weren't allowed. So all of that started to really hit me. It planted those seeds, around social justice that I'm incredibly active in. I saw your notes, and I'm happy to talk about that if you'd like. So it planted those seeds. So I remember learning about Buck O'Neill, who was, one of the great Negro League players, and I'm making a movie about his life right now.
Wow, amazing.
I'll send you the trailer today
Yes,
when we get
please.
off.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm working on it with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment and
Oh,
the Toronto Maple Leafs and Hockey Hall of Fame. It's on Herb Carnegie, who just got into the Hockey Hall of Fame, a
okay.
black player that I was behind. I was helpful in making that happen, and so we made this film called One Week in November about these two gentlemen who weren't allowed to play, persevered, changed the world,
Mhm.
so that other people wouldn't have to go through what they went through. Found a way, came tantalizingly close in 2006, when they're in their 80s and 90s, to getting into the Hall of Fame. They both just barely missed out while they were alive, and they died shortly afterwards. 16 years later, white, black, brown people all got together, kept took that baton, and they both got in this past November. That's
Amazing.
what that's what the film's about.
Yes, I tried looking for your other film that you produced, Willie, and I couldn't seem to find it. So if you have,
Well, it just went up on CBC Gem
okay,
like last week, so you can get it
wow,
on CBC Gem. Yeah, so
okay,
we just did a new deal with CBC. So I was looking at it earlier today. It looks great. It's one of the new. It says new films, new documentaries, and you'll see it.
awesome, perfect, great. Because if not, I was going to ask if we could screen it here at the museum. Sometimes we do
Yeah,
movies.
we're happy to. Yeah, if you
Yeah.
ever, I don't get home a lot. But I don't know if you guys have budgets for those kinds of things or whatever. I have other film, I'm the co-producer, so I do have a responsibility to others that, so we do charge
Right.
for screenings. But
Right.
if you do, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah. So another question, like you kind of just mentioned there, how often do you come back to Sault Ste. Marie, and have you been back?
Yeah, I get back. I get back a lot. I haven't been back since the pandemic, unfortunately. But you were at Superior Heights, yeah. So you probably ran across Mr. Sergio Iaco at Cora. He's one of my dearest friends in the world. I talked to him last week.
Mhm.
So yeah, I get back to see him and Sam Medaglia and Peter Nero and George DiBernardino, and I mean, Tim Lukenda. I have 100 friends there still that are still really near and dear to my heart. So, and my dad lives there 6 months of the year. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I get back as much as I possibly can, and I have cousins that are there still. So yeah,
Awesome.
I'll always call it home.
Yeah. You'll have to come by the Sault Ste. Museum and we'll
I
meet.
would love to. Now, are you located? I remember you used to be near the old. Is it the Emmetinger House?
Yeah. Yeah. So we're the big building with the clock tower on the top.
So right on the corner of Queen and yeah, right there. Okay, yeah. Okay, awesome.
Yeah. And if you have any photos or videos you would love to share with us, we can put it into the collection and have a spot for you in the collection, as well as promo
Wow.
for this episode. That'd be absolutely amazing.
Wow,
We're working on
that's
redoing our sports gallery soon.
that's quite an offer.
So
I'm only in one other museum that I'm really proud of. I'm in the because of work I did at the NHL, and I was the first Black executive there, and with Willie O'Ree. My shin pads and my hockey equipment is in the Smithsonian in the Museum of African American History. So
that's amazing.
that's my one museum. So
We're no Smithsonian, but
so,
we
but I'm
happy to
happy
have
to do
you
it.
there.
Yeah, no, let me think about that a little bit as to what I would have, and it may take me a little bit, but
Yeah.
but you have full permission to bother me to send you stuff, and I'll make sure that myself or my partner or my colleague Linda go ahead and my colleague Linda will help us on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see. What else do I want to ask you? So maybe what is diversity like in hockey today? And what are some like
Sure.
actionable things that place like Sault Ste. Marie could implement to help bring diversity to the game?
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing it for about 30 years. I never had a teammate of color, in my time. And I very much, that always bothered me. And it's, when I got to the point where I could do something about that, where I got to the NHL, I looked around. This is in the 90s, right? So there was no DEI, so to speak, right? And I said, you know what, I have to do something about this. And in earnest, I went to Gary and went to Commissioner Bettman and said, you know what, we need to do something about this. And he said, absolutely. What do you want to do? And I said, let me think about it. And the first thing I did was I went and when I was 10 years old, I went to the library. I went to the Sioux Library and I looked for first Black hockey player. And there was Willie O'Ree. And I was really upset with him because I wanted to be the first Black player. But I got past it. That lasted from 10 to 12. And I got past it. And then when I got to the NHL, I made a point to find him, and that's in the film. You'll see all that played out in the film. I had a friend of mine who was a Black FBI agent who helped me find him, and we tracked him down, and I met him, and I was just blown away by who he was. Earnest, humble, incredibly just passionate, amazing man who was working security in San Diego. He was 61, and the whole world had forgotten about him. And I said, and that I couldn't believe. And then at the same breath, there's on his wall in his office, there's the Order of Canada.
Wow.
One of the highest civilian honor given by the Canadian government, right? I was like, this is crazy. So I figured out how to hire him. It took a while, but I figured out how to hire him, and he still works for the NHL today.
Wow.
And watching his jersey get retired in the Boston Garden a year ago was emotional. I cried. That was 20 some years of work. And just to really shine a light on his story and have people understand the importance of who he was and what he had to navigate to get there. Now, as it pertains to the Sioux and every other hockey community, it's about intentionality, right? It's really about intentionality, because the two superpowers of racism, frankly, are its invisibility. It's what we swim in. It's what we all navigate on a daily basis, is the construct and frankly the false construct that permeates everything we do in North America, right? That some people, there's a caste system, if you will. I don't know if you're a reader, I'm sure you are, but Isabel Wilkerson's book Caste, Caste, brilliant. And it really kind of helps you understand racism's invisibility as a superpower. And the second superpower is its ability to propagate without, just by being still, by doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
If you do nothing, it spreads. So it really takes intentionality to stop the spread and to make it visible. That's the key. And that's after a lot of reading, a lot of research, a lot of, hard, and these are conversations that people here in the States are fighting against right now.
Right.
So it's not simple. I live in a beautiful, bucolic little town north of Boston called Lexington, Massachusetts. Shot heard around the world. I live around the corner from John Hancock's house, and those fights are still going on. in this country, which is insulting, frankly, and insane. So I look at this and I approach this through the lens of hockey because I think it's where I know some people, luckily, and it's where I can make a difference, and I have a bit of a platform that I've created for myself, frankly,
Yeah.
and so I'm very much about intentionality, about speaking openly about these topics, about people wrapping their heads around them in a way that our formal education hasn't
Yeah.
done,
Yeah.
frankly,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people don't want that to happen, but
Hmm.
it has to happen
Yeah.
so that some basic truths. My goal, and the one thing that I would, people ask me, well, why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself out there and putting a target on your back and doing all of these things? My goal and what I would love to see, because the United States has not had the guts like Rwanda, Canada, Germany, which we made them do it, South Africa, we made every German citizen walk through a concentration camp at the end of the war.
Mm-mm.
We need to be, the United States needs to have the guts to do truth and reconciliation,
Yeah.
and they just don't have it yet. You know, they don't want to. There's a third of the country who I don't know if they'll ever come around to it, frankly, right? And that was fueled by the insanity that was the 4 years before this president.
Mm.
And it was insanity. I'm sorry, but I'm going to just call it like it was. And I had friends that I don't want to make this political, but I had friends that would say, "Oh, well, lower tax," and I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. He makes the life for my children more dangerous every day.
Yeah.
It's real simple. Those kids you love and I love, he makes their lives more dangerous every day." So anyway, enough of that. So but yeah, that's the reason, right? Is
Yeah.
that I would love to the Sioux and every community to embrace these ideals and to talk
Yeah.
openly and thoughtfully about these truths, because they're truths. I don't care what anyone says. I don't deal in rumors. I deal in the irrefutable, and
Mm.
these things are irrefutable
Yeah.
as to what has happened, how the system has grown, and we haven't even talked about First Nation people. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable
Yeah.
what is glossed over
Yeah.
in the name of, sorry, we're getting really heavy here, but what is glossed over and ignored, frankly,
Yes.
in the name of capitalism and the name of betterment. I mean, yeah, what you mean the genocide that in North America, where there were 80 to 90 million, 100 million native people, and there's 4 million left?
Mhm.
It's the greatest genocide in the history of the world,
Yeah.
and people ignore it.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
It is.
It's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Needs to be heard, needs to be shared, needs to be talked about. Yeah. I thank you.
You're welcome. What else can I answer for you?
I'd like to talk about your entrepreneurial spirit. So you started 7 startups this far in your career, and now you have Burst, a user-generated content platform that you are the co-founder and CEO of. So I'm just interested in, did you always have this drive to build and create, and where did this entrepreneurial spirit come from? Stem from?
Yeah, it's such a crazy journey. I did not know that I was an entrepreneur. Um, what I figured out really quickly is that I wanted to work for myself.
Hmm.
And frankly, I couldn't quite. As you get older, you figure some stuff out. I couldn't pinpoint it, but when I was in certain jobs, I knew that they weren't going to take care of me. I wasn't going to climb. I felt like I was being judged all the time. I'm 57, so this is a long time. This is 30, 35 years, 40 years worth of work, right? And I'm going through everything and I'm navigating and I mean, I'm relentless. I'm not skinny, and I've run 26 marathons, right? I mean, I've done a lot, and I'm just don't give up no matter what. And that was ingrained in me by my parents. And my mom said to me very early, she had that talk with me, as most kids of color have, you're going to have to be twice as good
Hmm.
to get what you need and where you want. She combined that with also, you can do anything you put your mind to. Like, wow, that's pretty potent rocket fuel you
For
know uh,
sure.
for a kid, right? And I believed her, and I still believe her to this day. So went about, got was at the NHL and had all these fun, cool jobs and did all this fun stuff. And I finally was like, you know what? I have to do this for myself. So the only person who can let me go or fire me is me or my wife. That's it, right? So I took that risk, and it's been full of challenge. It's been full of victories, but
Yeah.
full of challenges. Going through full challenges right now that are just it just blows your mind,
Yeah.
right? Just some of the things that and realizations. Okay,
Mm.
this is crazy. This is crazy what I'm going to tell you. Okay, like, and I realized this 24 months ago.
Mm.
24 months ago. I've been doing this for 22 years. I've been an entrepreneur at the intersection of media, sports, and technology for 22 years. I've looked at 9,000 opportunities. I've invested in 9 in 22 years, right? That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a ton of work. We're 5-1-1. We've had some victories. We've had 5 victories, 1 tie, 1 loss, and I've got 2 working still. Okay. And what I discovered, I didn't know this, and I'm ashamed of it, frankly. What I discovered 22 years ago, what percentage of capital, investable capital to build businesses, goes to Black entrepreneurs in North America? Do you know that
No.
number?
No.
It's now 2%.
Wow.
It was 1% before George Floyd. It's doubled.
Wow.
So when people say there's no systemic racism,
Mm.
it's comical.
Mm.
That's the mountain I've had to climb to
Yeah.
build those businesses, to get that capital.
Yeah.
And so on one side, that's an incredibly steep, hard climb. On the other side, I've been able to climb it because of the progress made by King and Malcolm X and John Lewis, and people are like, oh well, there's been so much progress. Absolutely, there's been so much progress, but that's just superficial in a lot of ways. And if our progress is that we don't say the N word in polite company, come on,
Yeah.
we can do better than that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So I think so. Consequently, I'm after the entrenched, systemic, hard, the invisible, the silently propagating
Mm.
racism in North America.
Yeah.
That's what I'm after, and I'm nuts about it. And I'm doing some things right now to change that, to change people's apertures from here to here. My
Mm.
wife puts it best. She calls it, like, if you watch Willie, watch the film. We made a social justice film disguised as a hockey movie
Right.
on purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that people would eat their vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
realize
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah.
were eating their vegetables. Now we're trying to do that at scale across the United States to 85% of the United States every week.
Mm.
Messages that teach, heal, and humanize.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on right now.
That's incredible.
We're trying. We're
Yeah.
trying.
And that's all we can do, I guess. Work
That's all
work
we can
little
do.
by little away at big things that are meaningful. That's awesome. So maybe we'll leave it off with, do you have a favorite memory? Or
Oh,
think
there's
about
so
Saint
many.
Marie?
There's so many memories. Every time I go back, I have a new one. It's
Yeah.
I literally am on a group chat with 20 of my friends from the Sioux every day, like every day.
That's
My
amazing.
boys, right, who went to
Yeah. Yeah.
Lakeway and Wadding, and we're still arguing over who won NASA, and the call that was, no, seriously. I mean, it's crazy. So those guys are my memories,
Yeah.
and their current memories. Like literally this morning, how did the Leafs lose to the Blackhawks? That was terrible. Kind of, and so that's incredible. That I've not gone. Here's a simple way to say it. But I do want to point to a couple of specific memories. But here's a simple way to say it. I have not. I left the Sioux when I was 18 years old, almost 40
Mhm.
years ago. Okay, I have not gone 1 month without talking to someone from Sault Ste. Marie in that whole time.
That's crazy. Yeah. I love
Right?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
That's wealth. That's wealth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's better than that, right? So,
Mhm.
and those people have been comprised of my classmates and my teammates and
Yeah.
my competitors, and but in particular my coaches.
Yeah.
the coaches in Sault Ste. Marie, and not just in hockey, in soccer and basketball and football, just wow, the time and the effort and what they poured into us,
Yeah.
was just, I mean, I had some of the greatest coaching in my life in that city. Looking back on it, right? There was a reason that at one point from Sault Ste. Marie, there were 5 NHL coaches at one time.
Mhm.
That's incredible. Those are 32 of the hardest jobs in the world to get. And 5 of them at one point came from Sault Ste. Marie. That's crazy,
Yeah.
right? But it just shows the level of commitment and expertise that is just in the water there. That's in
Yeah.
it's in the DNA of the city.
Yeah. And do you have a lasting note or message you want to share with people growing up in Northern Ontario?
All the shoveling of snow, all of the weather, all of the elements, all of the just rugged, figure it out. Nothing prepares you better.
Mhm.
That's the Sioux. That's what it means to come from the Sioux. You gotta
Yes.
figure it out,
Yeah.
and you do.
Yeah.
Drive 10 hours, drive 9 hours for one hockey game.
Yeah.
Done. And when we get there, we'll kick your butt.
Yes, 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 yes. I grew up as a competitive dancer, so I'm the same thing. Driving 10 hours and winning it all.
Hey,
Yeah.
my wife, I married into a family of dancers.
Mm,
My sister-in-law is the head of the dance program at Boston University.
nice.
My other sister-in-law runs a professional company. My mom's mom and dad were started the New England Folk Arts
Oh,
Festival and an organization 50 years ago. Yeah, so I'm very, very immersed in. So you were doing Scottish dancing, I take it?
my mom is actually a Scottish Highland dance teacher, but I also grew up doing ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical contemporary,
Everything, yeah.
everything.
So Marianne Taylor, my wife's mom, was Tina. She's busy. She taught for the Royal Scottish. She was a Scottish Highland dance teacher. That's what she did.
Wow,
Yeah, I've been to Scottish balls in a kilt, the whole thing, embarrassing myself. They were like, "Oh, you're trying so hard." The reels, all of it. Yeah, no, I'm not afraid.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
It's really fun. Really fun.
Well, I thank you so much. I don't want to take
Oh,
so
you're very welcome.
much time, but thank you so much for chatting with me today. And I'm so excited to share your story with the people of Sault Ste. Marie and get it out there. And thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. And if you guys, I wish I could just drop everything, but if you guys have, seriously, I just want to make sure my investors are mostly whole, but if you guys have budget to do a screening, we'd love to do it.
Yes. Thanks. Thank you. So we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Mari, all the best. Thank you.
Yes, you too.
Take
Thanks.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow the Sioux Museum on Instagram or Facebook to get the most up-to-date information on what we are up to and more Sault Ste. Marie history, of course. Season 2 is coming, so stay tuned.